Hi, pet parents. Hello, everybody. This is Soumya from Pet Pet India, your host for today. And as promised, we are here with yet another new and interesting session about reducing your suffering footprint. Please welcome our expert guest for today, Joellen, the animal welfare manager and co founder of People Farm, also known as Joe. I'll be addressing you as Joe for
Yeah.
the rest of the chat.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So
Keep it
people who are
easy.
watching us, yeah, people who are watching us today will be talking about what suffering footprint exactly is and how can we reduce our own footprint, which basically translates into reducing animal suffering through changes that you can bring in your everyday lives. So, Joe, welcome to the live chat. How are you doing?
Thanks. Good. I'm a little wet from the monsoons.
Yeah. Of course. Talking a bit about her, Joellen began her work with animals at the age of 15 and converted into a vegan when she was just 16. With a degree in urban environmental policy from Occidental College, Los Angeles, Joellen started to travel the world in search of meaning. She rediscovered her passion for helping animals beginning in February 2013 in India. This led to her co founding People Farm in December 2014, a farm stay in a small village in Himachal Pradesh, which has rescued over 2,000 animals since its inception. People who are here, who are watching this, we're here to discuss how can one reduce their suffering footprint. People who are joining us now, please drop in your queries in the comment section below, and we will surely answer them for you. So, Jolyn, start with the topic. Let's start with the most basic
Hmm.
of questions. What exactly is the concept of suffering footprint? Because a lot of people want to know about that. And
Hmm.
who coined this term, and when exactly did people start becoming more and more aware of something like a suffering footprint as a concept?
Hmm. So suffering footprint, basically, it's like an eco footprint or a carbon footprint. It's basically the surface area that anything you do in life causes suffering to another being. So whether that's like direct, like eating meat, which has a very clear line to causing suffering to an animal for your meat, all the way to something as innocuous as a bowl of rice. Um, and some people might ask, like, why? How could a bowl of rice cause
Yeah,
so much
yeah,
suffering?
yeah.
So when you think about the life cycle of an item that you consume, like rice, and it's a very basic thing that's in most of our diet,
Right,
it's first planted. So first, like a bull has to pull a plow through the
right,
mud, which is really, really
right,
hard.
right,
And many bulls die in that season because it's very extreme work. They're pulling a very heavy thing through 6 inches of mud. And when they flood the fields, then all of the ground dwelling animals, bugs, mice, birds that nest on the ground, their homes are flooded. Many of them die in that process. Then they plow it again. So again, they do a whole nother process with tearing up the soil, and any of the earthworms living in the soil and bugs and things get torn up in that process. They plant, and then they're spraying pesticides. Those
right.
pesticides, I mean, if it's not organic, they're spraying pesticides. Where do those pesticides come from? They're petroleum products. Petroleum
Right.
is mined and transported, and then the trucks that have to be made in order to transport those, where are the metals coming from? Where is all of the fuel for that coming from? The packaging, all of the
Right.
plastics are petroleum products as well. And so you can go deeper and deeper into any product that seems like, okay, it's not so bad, and you'll
Uh-huh.
see just how much suffering is caused in all of those processes, whether it's wars because of oil or directly because of plowing, or even
Right.
just, on the roadside, animals are killed by things driving over the road. So
Right.
anything you consume has a suffering footprint. The term was
Right.
originally coined by Robin. Robin Singh is one of the co-founders of People Farm, one of our fellow co-founders, and
Right.
he coined it for his TEDx talk on suffering footprint. So we were kind of exploring that idea around that time.
Right, right. I was doing some research, and there are certain works on the term as well, right? Suffering footprint by Diane Peachman and some
Yeah, I
others.
think it was sort of convergent evolution, if that makes any sense, where it's like we came up with the concept and then, you Google it and you're like, oh, like other people have thought of this
Right,
too. So
right,
in
right,
terms of like having it in popular use rather than more in academia, I think like
right,
we couldn't find anything that was really popular, but like, the term has been thrown around a little bit here and there.
right.
But our specific definition we came up with at around the time that Robin was doing that talk. And So yeah, I think that this is a concept that has largely stayed in academia, and so part of what we've been trying to do is bring it into sort of more common vernacular, like where people are able to just talk about it like we would a carbon footprint. That's a pretty common term now.
Right,
Almost everybody knows what that means.
right,
And so suffering footprint is just another level of like, okay, making people aware of the concept, and that helps them become more aware of their actions as well.
right, right.
Mhm.
So was it like how was this term coined exactly? Like, were you guys having a brainstorming session? Like, what exactly uh,
Yeah.
happened? And you guys thought of.
Our whole life is one big brainstorming session, it seems like. But we were
Yeah.
sitting, and he had been invited to this talk, to the TEDx talk.
Hmm.
And, we had all these concepts and like ideas and sort of like no specific term to talk about this thing that we knew already. I mean, it's like, the concept, exactly how much consumption really affects
Right.
like all sorts of beings on the way. And so we were looking for something that really like was a encapsulating term that we could just throw out and that would stick in
Yeah.
people's heads. And it was like, well, we have eco footprint, we have carbon footprint, why not suffering footprint?
Definitely stuck. It definitely stuck. And
Yeah,
like
catchy.
it's a very it is, and it's a very it's a topic that is close to a lot of people's hearts. People
Mm,
are doing something or the other in a way, in an individual manner, to help reduce
mm,
the suffering footprint. And those who are not able to, this is where the session comes in, where we can discuss as to how we can start and where exactly we can start.
mm.
That's very interesting. So
Yeah.
Joe, how can one repurpose their life or start reversing their suffering footprint? For example, I'm watching this session now, and I just for the first time realized that, okay, something like this exists. And even
Mm,
though, like, I have realized it before, I want to address it now. I want to repurpose my life now, and I want to start reversing the suffering footprint that I have been posing to in this environment. So for
mhm,
example, I turned back into a vegetarian, and I stopped completely consuming meat and even eggs, because I believe that it helped the apparent animal suffering aspect. But is that
mhm,
enough? Because I don't think that's enough. What is your take
mm.
on
Yeah, I think like part of what we say is instead of focusing on the sort of grand gestures of what you can do, the easiest place to start is to start by stopping. So if you're consuming something that has a direct line of suffering to something else, try moving away from that. If you're consuming a lot, like say you're eating more than you need to eat, or which, guilty, um, you're
that?
eating more than you need to eat, or you're buying things that you don't really need, but like, oh, I like that, I'm gonna buy it.
Mhm.
Start by just trying to eliminate those things from your life where you're not consuming as much, reducing down to the bare minimum of what you can survive on. Um, and I mean, within reason, right? Like there's especially like a upsurge in India of like used clothing stores, used bookstores.
Yeah.
So instead of going out and buying something new, go ahead and head over to a used store, pick it up from there, and then you're not adding to the suffering in all of those manufacturing processes. So just making wiser decisions about what you do consume and then reducing it down as much as you can. So that's kind of what we mean by start by stopping. Then if you want to go from there and you're still going to be in like a net negative suffering impact, you're still going to be you have to consume something to live. So if you're
Mhm.
going to continue on living, then it's important to also have a positive impact. And whether that means like even just donating to an organization that is doing work that's reducing
Right.
suffering of others, whether that's people or like, humans or non-human animals, either one, as long as they're reducing the suffering, that's a valid thing to invest in. Or taking active steps, volunteering with organizations that reduce suffering, or even starting your own. Or in India there's tons of stray animals, just feeding some stray animals, taking them in for treatments, learning how to catch dogs and cows and everybody, and like getting them to a vet so that they can get that treatment. And again, even if you're not animal friendly, there's plenty of people that need help.
Mhm.
One idea that Robin had was just, we have water bottles, you just collect bottles, soda bottles, water bottles, whatever. You can refill them with filtered water at home. And then
Mhm.
as you're driving around, and especially in a city like Delhi, there are tons of people on the side of the road that don't have clean water. Just hand out clean water to people, especially in the summertime. It's really, really severe. And these folks don't have any access to clean water. So there are small steps you can take. You don't have to like totally radicalize your life.
Right.
And if you want to, that's fantastic. We love it when people go extreme, but you know,
Right.
like start by stopping and then take your tiny baby steps towards the right direction.
Right, right. So that's actually relieving, that even like starting small makes a difference, and it doesn't have to be like something extremely grand also. People who are
Mm.
joining us now, we're talking about how to reduce one's own suffering footprint. What are the various ways you can do that? And Joe here is going to be answering all your queries. So if you have any queries regarding this topic, you can definitely comment them in the comment section below, and we'll take that up. We all know that again, like becoming vegan is one of the important steps to reduce our suffering footprint, but people usually feel that it's a very difficult process.
Yeah.
Can you help us guide the people who want to become vegan but are unable to follow through? Where should one start? Because it's something that people struggle with, which is where should one just simply start, and what are the alternatives of our usual consumption, like milk? Like, what are the different
Hmm.
alternatives of being a vegan?
Yeah, so a good place to start, at least from my experience, because when I went vegan, I was very alone. Like I had nobody in my family that was even vegetarian. I was the only even like person thinking about that at all. None of my friends circle was vegan or vegetarian. I was really quite by myself. And that was hard at first because I stuck with it. Like I was going for it, but like it it can be really isolating at times to where you have this knowledge. All of a sudden you wake up to this and you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't do this anymore. But then you don't really have anyone to talk to, because a lot of people feel like a lot of people who are not there yet just feel like you're judging them when you're just trying to discuss what you've learned and what you're experiencing right now. So whether it's online or offline, finding a community of people who are like-minded, in this case, like finding a community of vegans or vegan-ish people who are thinking about this kind of thing, can really be a good support if you're
Okay.
kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do, and they can root for you and say, yeah, keep going with it. Like, oh, someone says, oh, I slipped up, and it's like, okay, get back to it. Come on, you can do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like any other thing, it helps to have accountability with people, and it also helps to
Right.
have support with those same people. And then the second thing is just for being forgiving with yourself. So we like the idea of vegan-ish, where people, maybe they give up meat, eggs, and cheese, but
Uh-huh.
then the chai, they have milk in their chai and they
Yeah.
just can't kick that yet, and that's a
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
ingrained thing. Like milk and chai is really important for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
cut everything and have the milk in your chai. That's better
Right.
than just going, okay, I have to have milk and chai, so I'm going to do everything. Like, no, you
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
to, like,
Uh,
do the steps you can take. And even
uh,
if that's like the only thing you cut is milk in your chai, it's a step, you know? So
yeah.
start with what you
Right.
can achieve. And
Right.
if you slip up, okay, you haven't like, you haven't lost your ethics. You haven't become like a completely immoral person. You
Yeah.
slipped up, try and get back on track. Say, okay, next time I won't do that. Next time I won't have that pizza. Next time I'll choose the other thing and I'll be more strong about it. And
Right.
then that same team, that same community can help you stay connected with that. So that's kind of like a two-prong approach where it's like being forgiving with yourself and having people there to support you as well.
Okay. Okay. And what about the alternatives that we
Yeah,
have
sorry.
over milk? Yeah.
So there's a lot of different, it depends on what you're looking at, right? So there's a lot of options. If paneer is the thing that you struggle with the most, most people don't eat just plain paneer, so it's actually kind of easy to get rid of because it's like you're not going to just eat a chunk of paneer usually. So like you want it
Yeah.
in like a sabji, or you want it in shahi
Right.
paneer or something really nice like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you use tofu, which is like the soya version,
Right.
it's almost half the price,
Uh-huh.
and it is exactly the same when you put it in shai
Right.
paneer. So
Right.
you just cut up tofu and you cook it exactly the same as you would paneer in one of these dishes. So that's a really,
Right.
really easy way. We actually sell it online, so you can
Okay.
find these, especially in major cities, but you can get it
Right.
online as well.
Right. Right.
Um, Then for like milk, there's tons of alternatives, and a lot of them are super easy to make at home. My favorite is peanut milk.
Okay.
I think it has a really nice creamy, nutty flavor to it that I really enjoy, and it's great in chai. But there's also like rice milk, oat milk, almond milk if you're getting fancy. Um, and I mean, there's tons of them. Soya, but like a lot of people are a little freaked out by soy because of like some of the dairy industry's propaganda has actually put
Yeah.
a really negative spin on soy. So if you're trying to avoid soy for whatever reason, an allergy or otherwise, there's lots of other options. You're not just stuck with soy only.
Yeah.
Then what else? Bombay Cheese Company. There's this group called Bombay Cheese Company. If you're in that area, they also ship all India, I think. They have some really excellent, like kind of fancy cheeses that are
Okay.
vegan. So it's like
Right.
these really nice cut up, like they have ones that are sliceable and they have spreadable cheese as well. So there's tons of companies starting up with this kind of stuff.
Right.
For the meat eaters, my favorite is there's a company called Good Dot. It's Good Dot vegan meat, and they have this like the texture is kind of like I've not had it, but the texture is kind of like what people say mutton is like. Um,
Okay.
so it has like what am I trying like tikka, like the kebab kind of
Right.
things,
Right.
yeah. So it has that sort of like exact same texture. It's a little freaky, actually. It like kind of
Okay.
scares me sometimes because I'm like, oh wow, that's a lot like meat. But they
Right.
have a really excellent product. So if you go to Good Dot, or it's on, that's also we sell through Peepal Farm. And
Okay.
that's like for the really like diehard meat eaters, that can be a good way to wean yourself off meat. So tons and tons of options out there. It just takes a little research to really find them and find the ones you like too.
Right. Right. That's a lot. Yeah, like you were right. A lot of options are coming up. So that
Mm.
was a good insight on the options that are available. Okay. So we're talking about People Farm here. Let's talk about that.
Hmm.
Tell us more about People Farm and how did it come into being? And like you almost touched upon this when you were answering the first question, and even I saw it in one of Robin's videos that
Hmm.
he had mentioned there that people would generally point out, like when you're talking about like suffering footprint, they would naturally, in a defensive manner, point out that there's really no way to find out how much suffering is okay,
Hmm.
and exactly where that you put a full stop. So, because he even addressed the fact that how he was asked that even opening up a farm stay had some amount of labor involved, which caused physical pain,
Absolutely.
and the other
Hmm.
raw materials must have caused some sort of suffering. So, how exactly do you come to, as an individual or as an organization, how exactly do you distinguish between these necessities and indulgence, and what is it that will encourage people like us who want to actually are serious about reducing our footprint, and
Hmm.
where do we put that stop exactly?
Yeah. I think the main thing is just being honest with yourself, like being really honest with yourself about, do I actually need this? And, like, look, we run the organization, we talk about these terms. Nobody is perfect. I've been known to eat a chips packet. Like, I don't need the chips, but I eat them because it's like, you get the
Right.
craving and you're like, it's here. I'm hungry. I'm by the store. I'll go ahead and do it. And then afterward, I'm like, I shouldn't have done that, because then it's like I could have just gone home and had it. And so it's definitely a process, and it's not something that you're going to be 100% at the beginning. But I think being really, really honest with yourself about like, okay, is this actually necessary? And for us, like living in this, even though there was construction and like, for the mud bricks, we had to like dig into the ground. And the labor, actually, the one who had the most physical pain in the labor was actually Robin, because he like, kept having accidents with like
Okay, that's
rebar and cows stepping on him, and it was just a mess. So he really like he hurt himself more than anybody else with that. But like um but
okay.
and we tried like, so even though this involved some consumption, even still, like all of that probably evened out much more than a lifestyle that we had in Delhi, for instance. We were living in Delhi for a year before we moved out here. And I mean, obviously, Robin's from Delhi, but like we all were living there and working there before. So living in a city is a highly resource consumption kind of lifestyle. And so we felt like, okay, if we're out here and we're doing natural building techniques, and actually like all of the wood on these windows and everything, where are my windows?
Yeah.
And some of the pillars that we have here, the pillars are 100 years old. This is all like reclaimed wood. So we went to the cantonment area, and they had like a scrap yard where they had a bunch of things that they were throwing from torn down buildings, and we would sift through all the scrap wood and metal and everything and find the stuff that we needed to build the house. These stones as well that are here right behind me, these are from an old school in Dharamshala that was torn down. So we didn't want to contribute to stone mining either, because that's very, like, the labor in that is quite cruel, between the people who are, you know, economically stuck in that, and then the animals they use to move stone as well. It's very risky, and it's very dangerous, and it, like, a lot of animals get injured in that. So we really wanted to make sure that we are trying our hardest to avoid new materials as much as we could. But then, you know, so it was like, okay, let's size up how we can do this, and let's try and reduce it down as much as possible, and also build a place that in the long run will have hopefully a positive impact, and like swing into the positive of, okay, how do we, you know, like, how do we reduce our suffering footprint, and how do we get other people to understand suffering footprint and help them reduce theirs as well. And living like this, it puts something in your head where it's like everything you do, you're like, okay, like, do I need this? And I'm pushing for, okay, we have to push really hard in our work and make sure that, like, we're getting the message out there, and that we're doing the right thing, and that we're, like, using our resources to the utmost, so that we're swinging into that positive, instead of sort of like puttering around and not really, you know, pushing really hard to make it positive. And I mean, we lucked out because Robin and like Robin, Shivani, and I, all three, we keep each other honest in that as well. So we sit and we talk about it, and we're like, okay, is this something that as a group we should be doing? You know, like with the products, there's packaging involved. Do we do the packaging? And it's like the amount of outreach we've done with those products, and the helping people switch into veganism because we're giving them an alternative, and getting exposure for us as a brand, you know, like as an organization. I think it has outweighed that, and that's why we came to that decision. But I mean, I think that constantly reviewing what you're doing and making sure you're on the right track is really important.
So constantly reviewing your own self, and even forgiving yourself for, you know, slipping up.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're human. Humans slip up. It's what we do. You know, we're not perfect.
Yeah. That's the key, actually. Okay. And all right. And so you have been working, like, your primary role with People Farm is as of an animal welfare manager, right? Among other things. So what does your
This
role
and that.
inculcate? Yeah, of course. So what does your role inculcate as an animal welfare manager? And you know, what is we know that, you know, in People Farm you've rescued tons of animals, you know, a lot of animals from here and there. And what is the entire process of animal rescuing that you do? And what do you feed them? That is also actually a very you know, question that I was very curious about. That because you might not be feeding them like meat and non-vegetarian. So what is it that you feed those animals? Because you know, every day we see, you know, like people coming up, stepping up, and, you know, rescuing animals and feeding them and stuff. So can you just throw some light on that?
Yeah. So I'll take it from the beginning. So in terms of the animal welfare manager role, now it's a lot different than it was when we first started. When we first started, I was doing the treatments myself with the help of one other guy. And actually, his name's Bobby. He worked the construction team. So he was a day wager, and we trained him up to do paravet work. And, you know, now he knows suturing, and like he could basically do surgeries on his own if he, like, you know, we have a doctor, so we do the surgeries with a doctor, but like he has all these skills now that he can use. So in the beginning, it was very much just like on hands-on. Now we have a really nice team, including a vet, and we have, let me think, 1, 2, 3 paravets.
Okay.
Am I right? 4 paravets. Sorry, we just hired one more, and a few animal handlers as well. So it's a nice big team, and so basically my role in there is I go in and I see the things that nobody else is seeing. So I'm like, this needs to be cleaned. This needs to be picked up. Are we doing this? Are we coordinating this rescue? So it's more of a coordination kind of role. I work very closely with our animal welfare supervisor. His name is Sahil, and he also works the construction team. So he's been with us since the very beginning. And he helps manage the phone, sifts through the rescues, makes sure that we're keeping records of everything. He does the logs that we have in the. We record pretty much everything that happens at the animal area. We record it, whether it's vaccines, deworming, new treatments, new prescriptions, animals passing away, coming in. Everything is recorded, just so we have a good kind of overview of exactly what's happening on any given day. So I work very closely with him, making sure that things are going all right. And that's kind of what my average day out there looks like. I do spend quite a lot of time on the computer answering emails. And since I also do adoptions, I coordinate that as well. So doing adoption interviews, placing animals, listing them on our website, and we're starting a new website called Petsy Global. It's a Peepal Farm project, but it's kind of a separate website, which is a animal listing website, so people can list their pets for adoption, and then people can search by country, and it's global, so it's anywhere in the world people can list their animal. Because there's not really anything like that. There's Pet Finder back in like US and Canada. There's this group called Pet Finder, but it's not available in India or any other country for that matter. So this is really to open that up to a global audience where people can really see animals from anywhere in the world.
Right.
Interesting. The second part of your question, I've forgotten.
No, that's okay. The feeding, like
the feeding,
what
yeah.
And,
thanks. So our dogs are not full vegan. They're what we call freegan. So I don't know if you've heard the term freegan. We don't purchase. So we don't purchase any animal products from them. There's a butcher nearby who has chickens. And when he slaughters the chickens, there's quite a bit of meat that he throws that people don't consume. And so he gives that to us, and we wash it very thoroughly and boil it. And we give that to the dogs, and especially the cats. Cats are obligate carnivores. They absolutely must eat meat. They cannot survive without it. So we give that to the cats. The only animal product we do buy is we do a little bit of milk. And that's for especially the very, very young calves. So we'll get like 2-day-old, 3-day-old, 3-week-old calves. And they have to have cow's milk. So we purchase that. And we do give it to the weaker puppies. We do have puppy formula that we give as well. But if we need to supplement that, we'll give them a little bit of cow's milk as well. We try not to do it because it can give loose motions, but in a pinch, we have to do that. Otherwise, the only other animal product is eggshells. And the folks in the neighborhood who do eat eggs, we take their waste eggshells. And we also, in the right season, when the guys are out making omelets, we take their eggshells, clean them, boil them, dry them, grind them, and then we add that into the dog food.
Right. Okay. And about the adoption thing. So when you coordinate the adoption bit, is it like mostly within your village in Himachal, or the whole of Himachal, or is it like the whole of India? How do you guys promote the adoption?
So far, it's been the whole world. Honestly, we've had
Really?
lots of adoptions in US and Canada. We're seeing a growing trend where like people in India are more interested in adopting Indian dogs, which is fantastic. And we would love it if like locally we could get some really good homes for dogs. We still haven't quite gotten to where like we're finding the people who will keep them as family members, because that's really important to us, is to not have a dog just hide out or like, sitting outside in a yard forever and ever. We want them to be part of the family. So for that, we have to be anywhere in the world, we have to screen very carefully to make sure that the dog is well cared for and that they're, in the safe environment that's going to keep them happy for their life. But we are seeing a growing trend of like Desi people liking Desi dogs. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. And like, what is your screening process like? I mean, just in a gist, if you wanna give us
Yeah, so we start out, people send in a form initially, just saying their location and everything. And then I arrange a phone call with them. So we do a pretty in-depth WhatsApp call where I'm asking them interview questions. Okay, what is your house like? Do you have a yard? Is it fenced? Who else lives in the house? Is it a rented place? Is your landlord okay with you getting an animal? Because I think a lot of people don't really think about asking their landlord or their
Yeah.
parents. They're like, you know, their senior parents that are in the household might be uncomfortable. So it's really important for them to have thought about this. Also, like, do you have any other pets? What are you going to feed? What's your plan for exercise? The whole thing. Once we've asked that, normally we try to do a house check, but coronavirus has kind of put a
Yes.
stop to our house checks. It's
Yes.
really made it difficult.
I was gonna come to that as the
Yeah.
part of my next question. Yeah.
So that gets kind of complicated. What we've been doing is just like people do a little video tour of their house and they just WhatsApp that to me. So I can just see that they're being honest about the kind of place that they're living in, and you know, they introduce me to their family members, and so that way I know that their family members know that they're doing this. And then we kind of screen as many people as possible and choose someone who seems the most suitable. And now also because of Corona, the tricky part is transportation. If they're outside of this area, it becomes very complex. Flights are just starting again to JFK, like New York. So we have a group going soon, hopefully, to New York in the next couple weeks. But, you know, the state borders have just opened up. So we're just now able to go to Delhi to catch those flights. So yeah, it's starting again, but it's tricky. Yeah.
That's very interesting and sounds very thorough, you know.
I try really hard to, you know, and if I have any sort of hesitation where it's like, I don't really know about this, I'm just like, nah, because then, you know, you end up with a dog across the world and I have to find a new home for it. And I'm like, I don't know anyone there. And like, how am I supposed to coordinate this? So I try to really hard to screen people very thoroughly.
Right. That works. So, okay, so we're like halfway through the session. People who are joining us now, we're talking about animal reduction of animal suffering, reducing your own suffering footprint. Joe is even, you know, telling us a lot about adoptions, and you know, if you're interested in adopting, also you can, or any kind of questions that you have regarding the process, you can comment down below, and we will take that up. So, People Farm also has a no-till organic farm. Is that correct? You guys also
Yeah.
have like a no-till organic farm. So, can you
Yeah.
explain what exactly is no-till or low-till farming, and you know, what
Yeah.
kind of organic farming do you guys do at People Farm, and can that be tried in like small backyard farms in cities, or is it just something that requires like a lot of space? What is it?
Not at all. So no-till farming or low-till farming means that we don't dig in the soil. So we try to avoid any sort of tearing up the soil and destroying the ecosystems that are created in the soil. So we've made beds. So they're not really raised beds in the sense that they don't have like barriers, but like they're kind of mounds and they're long beds. And we'd never step in that bed. So the key is that you don't ever want to compact the soil, because as soon as you compact it, it's not soil, it's dirt. Soil is the organic material, water, air, and the minerals in the actual dirt itself. So as soon as you compact it, all of the water and air gets squeezed out. And so it's very hard for roots to penetrate into the soil. So we have gutters on each side, and we use that for watering as well. Our whole farm is gravity watered. So we have an irrigation channel that runs on the top of the property. We open a hole in the wall, and all of the water flows in and irrigates the entire farm. But we also use those for walking, so we only step on those. And that way we protect our soil. So when we first started, this was completely compacted. It was really bad. Somebody had been using it to grow wheat and corn every once in a while. And, you know, they'd been spraying stuff on it, and it was like pretty bad soil. So it's been years of process of just layering like cow manure and compost, and then mulch, which mulch is like straw or leaves, like dried leaves, or even newspaper can work, or cardboard. So we'll sometimes have cardboard or like jute sacks as well. You can just lay those, and if you want to plant, you just lay it down and you cut a little hole, and then you plant in the hole, and the plant comes up through it. It also helps keep down the weeds. So a lot of people till because of weeding. They pull up all the weeds, and it destroys all of the soil and pulls it all up. So if you mulch really heavily, it reduces the weeds. and keeps it so your plants don't have to fight against weeds to grow, but also doesn't destroy your soil. So it's just been layer, layer. Luckily, we have lots of cow dung, so that's never been an issue
Yeah,
for us. Um,
yeah.
so we just layer that up.
Right, right. And can we do this kind of farming in the cities? No, right? I don't think so. Is it
You
possible? Like,
can, like
yeah.
Robin used to have sort of a like a bed on. He had a terrace upstairs that we used to in the place we used to stay, and he had these. He used tarps and wood pieces to make boxes and filled it with soil. And I mean, he was growing everything up there, like mangoes and basil and all sorts of things.
Oh,
And that's really easy because you
this
don't
is
really have to
this is
step
back
in
in
that at all,
Delhi.
so you don't dig.
This
Yeah.
was back
So
in
obviously
Delhi.
the mangoes we had to pull because we couldn't have a mango tree growing on our terrace, but like everything else, he was growing quite a bit in his garden upstairs. And you can do it in pots. You can grow a lot of things. Just have to get creative with your space. And vertical farming is really good in urban spaces. So if you have a wall outside on a veranda or
Yeah,
something, just having bottles or whatever stacked up along the wall, and then growing in those. You can do quite a few herbs, subji, things like that. And yeah, so
vertical farming is also coming up a lot.
yeah, it's kind of a trend right now,
Yeah,
because I think in cities people are trying to be more conscious about what they're eating
yeah.
and the health of their food as well.
Yes, yes, totally. That sounds
Sorry.
great. I mean, the fact that you can do something like that, even in a place like Delhi, gives a lot of hope
Hmm.
for people who are
Yeah.
living even in metro cities and all, because a lot of times people just get discouraged thinking, ki, it's just not gonna happen here, or it's something
Hmm.
that might just not happen
Yeah.
here at
I
all.
mean,
Well,
you'll
yeah.
still have to go to the grocery store probably, depending on how big your veranda is, but like you'll still have to buy some stuff, but you can
Yeah,
really supplement and have really wholesome organic food and herbs, especially because herbs get sprayed quite a bit in non-organic farming.
right.
So if you cook with things like basil and mint and curry pata and all of this, like
Yeah.
you can grow that really quite easily in a pot.
Yeah, yeah, like tulsi and all though is anyway grown
Mm.
in most Indian households. So,
Yeah,
it's
just like a
uh,
little,
curry
always a little
patta
pot there. So
tulsi. Yeah,
yeah, you can always just
yeah,
expand your growing.
yeah, right, right. Makes a lot of sense. Okay. And, so apart from the organic farming, People Farm is also a small scale women enterprise,
Hmm.
right? Where the
Hmm.
organic products that they make are also then sold. So
Hmm.
what exactly are these organic products? And I think you said that they are vegan. So are they all vegan
Yeah,
or like
absolutely.
what?
Everything's vegan, so that's a given for us. If it's coming from us, it's vegan.
Right,
So
right.
the top sellers are things like peanut butter. We have a chocolate spread that's really tasty. That's really nice. It's like Nutella, but the vegan version. Um, yeah, it's really nice. And we also sell kombucha, which is fermented black tea,
Yeah,
which is kind of popular with the sort of like health crowd, but it's
yeah.
really tasty and it's really nice and fizzy. Very refreshing in summer. What else do we sell? We sell muesli and vegan snack, which is like a namkeen, which is a really nice, like mild namkeen. Um, all sorts of things. Even some of the girls have learned how to embroider, and so we used
Okay.
recycled fabric, and they embroider like either like hoop art that you can put on your wall or little like purses and things like that. So the girls all do those as well. And all
Right.
of the women are from here in our village, so they work part time. Most of them are part time. I think we have a few full time as well. And
Oh,
they come in from outside, and it just helps them kind of get a little independence and make a little income, help them help their families, but also help them as well. Just to
right.
have that kind of financial freedom, where they
Yeah.
can kind of choose and make more choices for themselves as well.
Right. Right. And
Mhm.
how many women exactly are employed like in the
Oh my goodness. That might be a question I don't actually know. I think we have four or five, I think.
All right.
I
That's
don't want
great.
to like
And
give a set number because I don't know.
yeah, that's fine. And what about the products are sold online only on People Farm's
Mhm.
website? Like,
So before Corona, we were selling locally, but that's been kind of like, we had some stores here that carried, but we weren't able now to send people up to the stores, and there's no tourists right now, so a lot of the stores are shut. So right now we're not doing as much local. It's all online. Like, we have our own shop on our website, and we also sell on Amazon. So if you search
Oh,
Peepal Farm on Amazon, it'll come up. So
and
that makes
it's
it simple.
within India shipping.
hmm Yeah, it's all
I want
India.
to try the Nutella. I want to try the vegan
Yeah.
Nutella. Sounds like,
I will go through one of those in like a day. I eat the whole
oh
entire,
yeah.
just like, it's dangerous, but it's so good. So,
Nice. That's pretty good. Okay. So all right. So as a vegan yourself, what is I know that we went through this before, but I just want you to just give a message to everybody out there who's been planning to convert into a vegan.
mhm,
I know I have been, but I have just not been able to. Like, it's been a top. It's been a thing that I have wanted to do for a while now.
mm,
I told you that even before the chat started, we were talking about it, right? So
yeah.
that I left the meat and eggs consumption myself about 5 years ago, and I've been planning to turn into a vegan. And so many people I know, even the ones who are viewing this session right now, would be planning that. But can you tell us
Mm,
like the entire transition process? Because I know you said that the idea is to start small and everything, but if
mhm.
eventually we want to become a complete vegan, what is like the entire transition process that should be followed to just make it a bit more easier?
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of the individual. So I don't think I can speak to, like, every single person will have the same process. For instance, like, I watched one video of slaughterhouses and I was vegan, done. But beginning of the vegan, I ate meat, I ate everything. End of the video, I was done with everything and I went vegan, and I've been vegan ever since. So, like, for me, that was it. I needed that one sort of wake up call. Not everybody's like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the key to everything, and what I wish I had, like I said, I think earlier in the chat, what I wish I had was a community of people to help, because then you can really, your experience is your experience, right? So it's like, not everyone's going to have the exact same stepwise process, but if you have a group of people that have been where you have been before, um, and you can ask them questions and say, hey, I'm really stuck with this, do you guys have anything for me? And because everybody's tastes are different and people are from different countries and everything, so it's like there's so many different barriers to it. But then having other people that you can rely on to help guide you in a way, this worked for me, this didn't work for me. Someone else says, well, this worked for me, but like, try this. That's really important. So I mean, that's part of what we're trying to do right now, especially, is like building communities where people can kind of support each other. And that's not just vegans, but like vegans, animal rescuers, um, reducitarians, as they call it, people who just like want to bring their consumption down in general. I think really connecting with people who have a mindset, that's the key. More than anything else, that's step one, is find other people who can help guide you through it. And then if you have any specific questions, you can just ask your community. Um, so
Right.
yeah,
And
I'd say
like,
that's step one and all.
yeah, yeah. But I have this question popping in my head the entire time. So you know how they keep saying like you were like a sort of a dog trainer. You would know this, that when we're even like transitioning our dog's food, from like one brand to another, whatever we do this entire, like 75% of this the current food, and then 25% of the new food, and then that's how you slowly transition. So people who
Yeah.
probably don't have like have that one exact wake up call, do you think this kind of process would help them, like maybe like start very small, like you said that start small by maybe just reducing the consumption of cheese, maybe just stopping the
hmm
consumption of cheese, and still have milk, and then eventually like slowly cut down on the milk consumption and all also. So do you think that kind of transition would also help?
Yeah, for sure. Start with what's easiest. If you're just not that into eggs and you're eating them, but it's kind of like, I'm not super into it, and then just like, you know, cut eggs first. Then, okay, paneer, not my thing. So then cut paneer, and then you go, okay, now like cream in like dal is really hard for me to give up because I like that creamy taste. But let me try an alternative for that. Let me try peanut milk instead of milk. and cream in that, and find out what's like the most creamy. And again, this is where the community comes in. Ask, hey guys, I'm trying to make, rajma, and I really miss that creamy sort of rajma. What do you put in yours that will help me kind of rework that taste to something that I enjoy eating, instead of something that feels like, ugh, like this isn't the same, So just going stepwise, and starting also, if you eat packaged food. We don't eat all that much packaged food here, but like if you do eat stuff from packets, start reading the labels. Even if you don't do anything about it, just start reading what you're eating. And then that can help convince you to be like, I don't know what like monosulfide dioxide is, like whatever, like these crazy, like multi-syllable craziness. And it's just like, should I be putting that in myself? Like, I'm not so sure. And you'd be amazed at what has milk solids in it that really just doesn't need to have milk solids in it. So just like start being more aware of what's going into your body, and try making new choices about kind of like, okay, what can I do to like not put this kind of poison in myself, because it's really bad.
Okay, so Joe, before we move on, so just left with like the last 10 minutes of the session. I enjoyed this a lot. Before we move on to the quick tour that we would ask you to give of the farm stay of Peepal Farm and make us meet the animals, could you just tell us, what's your message to everyone who's watching right now? And very sure at some individual level, they're all working actively towards animal rescuing, feeding, and their welfare on an individual level, because that's the kind of people who tune into our videos as well. What is your message to those people?
I'd say stick with it. I mean, we all get very disheartened at times, I think, because I think especially animal people, whether it's like vegans or animal rescuers or the welfare people, or like even lawyers working in animal rights, it can be so disheartening. We don't have yet the majority of people on our side with this. And so I think just being aware of what you can change, what you can do, and then focusing on that instead of all of the things that you can't do. Like, even for instance, a good example is a rescuer who's in Delhi, and they see this dog that's in a horrible condition in Bangalore, and they can't do anything for that dog. There's nothing that they can do from Delhi, but they'll just drive themselves crazy thinking about, I have to help this animal. And it's like, focus on the ones that are right outside your door. Focus on the ones that you can do something about, and instead of driving yourself nuts about all the things you're not doing. And I don't know if you've heard of the Serenity Prayer, but it's like, help me to change the things I can and accept the things I can't, basically, is the summary of it. Accept the things that I'm not able to change and focus on the ones that I can change. And so that's, I think, really important for anyone in working with animals in any respect, to keep in mind. Or even, I guess, social work, like with people, like there's so many people that are in situations that you can't help them. And so, okay, just try not to beat yourself up for not being able to do everything, because we like to come in like superheroes thinking we can do all of this stuff, and then like it's not practical. You simply cannot. So forgive yourself for that, and don't hold yourself to that. And part of that is, again, having a community of people. Find your like-minded people, find people who are doing similar things to you, and support each other, instead of a lot of times in any movement you'll get a lot of infighting. And I think instead of focusing on the negative of what you're dealing with, or what other people are dealing with, just try to uplift each other and really make it a more positive kind of experience for everybody.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point, because about uplifting each other, because we've like noticed that there's this entire narrative about how when someone's trying to do something for one particular cause, they also get a lot of flack about, okay,
For
you're
not
doing
doing.
this for this, but you're
Yeah.
not doing this, you're not doing that. So, like that is
Yeah.
like such a like a very negative sort of a narrative. So what do you have to
Yeah.
say about that? Because people do get discouraged that
Haters gonna hate. That's all I have to say. Haters gonna hate. I mean, always there's gonna be somebody who's gonna have a problem. There's always gonna be someone who's gonna say like, oh, why aren't you doing more for people? Why aren't you doing more for, if you're saving dogs, why aren't you saving cows? If you're saving cows, why aren't you saving people? If you're, like, it's like, okay,
yeah, yeah.
Just
Yeah,
say, oh, that's a
exactly.
great idea. Thank you. You know, da, da, da,
I'll
bye.
try the
Like,
next time.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
sometimes you just have to let people do whatever they're in, and also understanding that that person has their own pain, they have their own problems. They're just
yeah.
people. And so it's okay. You let them have their pain and you try not to let it become yours because it's not worth it. You can't do anything about it. So keep rolling.
That's true. And the same old thing that, even one drop of, is like a big contribution to the ocean, which is
Hmm.
what exactly,
Yeah.
if you small,
Save
even that.
one animal. To that one animal, it's everything. Save one and you've done something. So yeah. Yeah. Do what you gotta.
Exactly. Okay, so a lot of people commenting here saying interesting topic and like
Hmm.
all of that. So like people I think really enjoyed the session. So now let's move on to the last part of our session, which is you giving us the tour of
The
People
tour.
Farm. Yeah.
All right.
Make
So,
it easy
all
on you also. Yeah.
right. So I'll go grab my camera.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
You do
be
that.
right there.
Okay, so we are here with Jo. She has gone to get her portable camera so that she can give us the tour of People Farm, which is the farm stay that she co-founded with two other people back in 2014. They do a lot of good work. They are the ones who are raising a lot of awareness about suffering footprint, how you can reduce your own suffering footprint, how you can reduce animal suffering, and a lot of other things. We are here.
Back again.
Hi, can you hear us?
Uh, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. No, you muted yourself. You muted yourself. You'll have to unmute.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, there's a bit of a lag in the video. Okay, she's back.
Yeah, sorry. Uh, Let me see here. There we go. Am I alive?
Yeah,
Am I present?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You're present.
Great.
Yeah.
So I'm heading to the animal area. If I lose you, I'll just turn around and head back to the house. But I'm back. So can I turn us around? Let's see. I'll turn you around so you can see where I'm going. Facing back. There we go. So we always have gates. That's the most important part of any animal area. Gates. And
Mhm.
actually, right now, everybody's gone home, so we end at 6:30. But the animals are still here, obviously. So we'll go say hello. I think I'll try and get Beatty out because Beatty G, our little goat, is kind of a famous goat. We'll try and say hello to her. Hey, what you doing? So this is our main animal area, as you can hear. Um,
Mhm.
these guys are loose in the
Yeah.
day. These are residents, actually. We have a resident mule. His name is Charlie. Um, and there's a few other residents in this area as well. These kennels are our old kennels. So these are all recovery kennels for rescues. Basically injuries like Pizza here had a tumor that we had to remove. So that's why he's in a cone and a bandage. Pizza. There he goes.
Oh.
Hi, bud.
Hi, pizza.
He's very sweet. Oops, are you slipping? Hi, good boy.
Oh, I can see the
And most of the dogs in here are quite shy, actually, so most of them won't come out, but this gives you an idea. or like Coyote here. He had a wire wrapped around his neck, which got maggot wounds in it. And so he actually, the wire is from pig trap. So some people take clutch wires here and they set a snare trap for pigs so that they can eat the pigs. But of course they catch every other animal, cows, dogs. And so we see this kind of case quite a bit actually. And it's pretty devastating. But luckily we caught him in time. So he survived. These kennels back here are adoptables. So these guys are dogs that are here until they can fly home.
To New York.
Tater, come here. This is Tater. Hi, bud. Hi, Tater. Sorry, did you ask a question?
Yeah, I was asking, are they the ones that are going to New York? The ones that got adopted?
I lost you. Okay. This is Tate's. He's like, I want attention. He's flying. Then on this side, we have our cow shed. So this is our recovery cow shed. These are only injured cows. And there's Mimi poking her head out. She's a resident. So she's our resident sheep. And basically any animal that gets eaten, we have to keep them here. So food animals, sheep, goats, and everybody, they have to stay here permanently. Because if we release them, someone will pick them up and eat them. So Mimi's here permanently. She can jump over that. I don't know why she's staying inside, but... And then this is Beatty. Come on. Hi, Beatty. This is our little goat. She's Insta famous. People love her. Hi. And these are our new sterilization kennels. So we just built these, and I don't know if anybody saw a post on our Instagram and Facebook about this. From profits from the products, we were able to construct this entire thing. So it's really thanks to the product girls that this is even existing. And it's a little difficult to see because it's dark, but these dogs are all here for sterilization. So this is 100% sterilization kennels. We catch female dogs, sterilize them, and re-release them once they're healed. So this little girl, she's a little shy, but you might be able to see her in there. And the nice thing about these is, as you can see back here, there's a little doorway. They have an indoor section and an outdoor section. So they can come out, sit out here, pee, poo, whatever they need to do. And then they have an inside place where they can sit as well. And that gives them a little bit more space and helps keep them a little bit more calm. I wish I could show you her a little bit better. She's all black though, so it's a little hard. Hi. She's very sweet. Hi, pretty girl. This is our clinic. So this is where everything else happens. I can try and go inside. I might lose you. But let's see. There's better light in here. And this, so this is our operating room. This is where we do the surgeries. So any surgeries, whether it's sterilization, amputation. There we go. So that's our surgery room. And right now we have a little kitten. Her name is Goatee. And she's staying in here overnight. So she had nerve damage, which means that she can't be released again. So she's looking for a home currently. Might be able to see her. She's very chatty. She's making a one as well.
Yeah, I could hear that.
Mm-hmm. This right here, if you can see it, it's a little dark. Huh? It's pretty dark, so it might be a little hard to see, but this is our food forest. So this is like a permaculture style growing kind of trend. So we have all the different layers, whether it's trees, like this is a guava tree right here. And then underneath we have hedges. So we grow, you can't really see it. We grow curry pata and all sorts of like kind of short bush type things. And then on the ground, we grow grass for cows. So we have a multi-layer kind of farm happening up here. And of course, the big tree is our mango tree. So this guy right here is our big tree that was on the property before we moved here. And that's really nice. In monsoon season, we get lots of mangoes. So let me try getting us around where you can really see the farm. Sorry, bear with me. This is our corn patch. A little hard to see, but got some corn growing. We have a meditation hut, so anyone can come out here, meditate, do yoga, chill out. In the wintertime, we have fires and stuff in here because we have a stove. And let's see, that's better view of the house, kind of. So the house is back here with the farm in the front. So this is the main building. This is the first building we built when we came here because there were really no buildings on the property at all. So it took us 9 months to build this main building. And this is where we have some staff that live here. The 3 co-founders live in here. And then lots of offices and products and all sorts of things happen up here. So it's quite a busy place in the daytime.
Right.
But it's there. This is what we call Pablo's area. We used to have a pig. Unfortunately, he passed away, and his name was Pablo the pig. And so he lived in here. But right now, our chickens live here. So we have 2 chickens. And right now, they're in their little house. So that's their house back there. In the nighttime, we lock them in so that nobody eats them overnight. And they hang out here in the daytime. Let's see. So we've gotten to where, here, this is actually a good place to see the beds. So you can kind of see we have these mounds that run north-south along the, so this is a bed, and then there's another bed, and there's a gutter in between. So these are the spots where we don't step. We never step on these. And if you get up close, you can see lots of cow dung. So we layer cow dung on top of it as well. Oh, we have a bindi right in front of us. There we go, little bindi.
Oh.
Yeah. So even like bindi and things like that can grow on a terrace really quite easily, like on a veranda. Because this plant doesn't get too large. So you just have to think about what gets too big. This is Ravina. So Ravina is one of our newest staff members. She's here doing communications and outreach and community management. So hi, say hello to Pet Pet. Bye. This is Chumby. He's one of our resident dogs. Chumby.
Oh.
So basically, he's our pet. Hi, bud.
Hi, Chumby.
What are you doing? Are you snapping at flies? Bye, Chumby. He's like, okay, later. And here comes Ian, our work exchange. Hi, Ian. Bye, Ian. He's going. Everyone's headed to dinner right now. And yeah, more like this is a little bit of vertical gardening, if you can see it. So we build these structures, and then we do this for like ghia and pumpkin and karela and things like that that like to climb. We build these, and then they climb up on top. And if you have something shade tolerant, you can grow it underneath, like in the shadow.
Yeah, the underneath part is very dark right now, but I can see like the.
Yeah, it's kind of dark. Sorry, didn't know it was going to be rainy today. Otherwise, we would have had light all afternoon. And the last thing I wanted to show you guys was our newest kind of places to stay. So these are what we call bungalows. I don't know if you can even see it. It's really dark. But these buildings right here are little studio apartments. No corona. We can have people here as guests, and they stay in the farm stay, and they pay to stay here, and they pay for the 3 meals, and all of that goes to the animals. So it's a nice way for people to have like a relaxing, peaceful place, and then they know that the funds that they're giving are going to a good cause as well.
Right. And has it started up yet?
That pretty much. We were doing it before Corona hit, but then we had to shut everything down. So we had no volunteers, no, like even most of our staff wasn't coming in the beginning. But then we were able to open up a little bit more now that the state borders have opened up.
Interesting. So, that's very good, Joe.
So that's pretty much it. Sums us up.
Interesting. Can I see your face again? Can you? Yeah. I can see you.
We try and get a good light here. There we go. It's a little hard to find the light.
Okay, so that was so good,
So
Joe. It
that's
was
pretty
like,
much the farm.
yeah, the tour was really amazing, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
I hope everybody enjoyed the session.
Yeah.
All right, see you. Bye.
Bye.